Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I'm coming to you with a GarbAugust guide to category romance. So first of all, a couple things, some explanations before we get into the books here, or the types of books that I'm going to talk about. What is GarbAugust, you might be asking? So GarbAugust is a month-long reading event that was created by Olly over at CriminOlly. I will leave link to not only Olly's channel in the description box below, but to all of the other co-hosts in the description box below. I am one of the co-hosts, so thrilled to be asked to join this ragtag group of booktubers for GarbAugust. It's going to be so much fun. So I think, and other people have said, that I am the unofficial queen of category romance here on BookTube. So who better to share category romance books with you guys? Now, GarbAugust is essentially an event to read trashier type books. Now, trash is subjective to everybody, right? So this is not like, we're not saying that these books are bad. And I know Olly's done videos on this. I've done videos on this. Most of our co-hosts have done videos saying, we're not saying that these books are bad. We're saying that they are fun and entertaining, and they're books that the general population, if they saw us sitting there like on the train or on our lunch break at work, reading it, being like, what are you wasting your time reading that for? Most genre fiction falls under this category. You know, romance novels, mystery novels, thriller novels, anything by James Patterson. You know, like all of that stuff is stuff that a lot of people in the general population, not a lot, but a good number of people in the general population are going to turn their noses up at. For those of us who enjoy it, who read it, who love it, what are you reading that garbage for? Read Charles Dickens, or you should read War and Peace, or go read a Jane Austen novel if you're going to read romance. You know, like, that's all fine and dandy, but there is a whole world of books that those people are missing. And now, in GarbAugust, yes, there are some books that are extra trashy, like ones that, yeah, okay, these ones are definitely, you know, written for a certain audience, or for a, you know, for shock value, if you will. But in terms of category romance, like, these books were written because they're good, because the authors are good. Like, you know, they're just fun. They are fun. They are trashy. So I am here. It's a week before GarbAugust starts, because this is the last Wednesday in July. And I'm doing this video to kind of share with you guys some of the books that would work for GarbAugust. And I don't mean specific titles. I'm going to be showing you guys kind of specific lines and things that I'm going to talk about. So stuff that you can search for in category if you haven't touched a category romance before. Guys, okay, so for the first week's prompt, it is men's adventure or category romance. I encourage all of you who have never, ever, ever picked up a category romance before, just pick up one, guys. This is not going to be a lot of your time. They're 200 pages long. Most of us can read that in a day or two. Like, this is not, it's not War and Peace. It's not a 1,000-page book that I'm asking you to pick up and try. And there is literally something for everybody. So let me talk about what is category romance for those of you who might be new. So category romance are the books that you see at your big box store, usually in the checkout area. Here's one, for example. This is a Harlequin Presents novel by my very good friend Paperbacks. I adore her. I adore her books. From One Night to Desert Queen. This one's actually sent to me. I literally just picked this one on random off my shelf. So again, this is a Presents novel. So there are 8 of these books published every single month. And all 8 of them will have the same cover design. This picture is going to be different. Of course, the title and author and the contents are going to be different. But it's branded as a Harlequin Presents novel. And all 8 of them are going to be branded the same way. On the spine, let me see if I can focus in on this for you guys. It's going to show the month and year of publication along with the number. The number doesn't mean much of anything. For anyone who's curious, the number, I feel, is more for collectors like myself. It's almost like, if you think about it, it's like issues of comic books. But you don't have to have read, like, this is number 3934. If this was part of a series, you don't need to read 3933. You know, like, again, issues of a comic book, issues of a magazine, stuff like that. But again, the numbers, I feel, are more for the collectors like myself. So again, 8 of these published a month. They stick to a very specific group of criteria. 1 for the word count, however many words. Almost all of these books are 224 pages. That's how long these books are. So they have very specific word count and 2 very specific writing guidelines to the tropes that they're allowed to use or not allowed to use, the amount of spice in the book, and, you know, anything at all like that. The presents novels also tend to deal more with, I like to consider these to be the more fairy tale aspect of romance novels, of category romance novels, because they usually deal with prince and princesses, unnamed or unknown fake European countries where some guy's a king and he needs to find his queen. You know, these are the ones where there's just a bit more of a fantastical element to them. You know, like, he's a billionaire, she's his not Scully maid, because that would have been historical. He's a billionaire, and she is like his maid, and, you know, they fall for each other. There's a lot of secret baby type tropes in these stories where, you know, secret baby, where they spend one night together, she gets pregnant, and then she, like, hides it from him, and then he tries to find her. There's also the accidental baby trope where they spend one night together, she gets pregnant, yada, yada, yada. So these have been around forever, okay? So going back to 2002, here's one from 2002, just to show you guys the cover change. This is also a Harlequin Presents novel, and this is, you know, how the covers used to be. But I think the ones that most of us who may have read our grandmothers or our aunts or our mothers' Harlequin books, these are the ones that you're going to recognize. This is also Harlequin Presents. And this is Lord of Misrule by Sally Wentworth. So yeah, these are my opinion is that when most people think of category romance, these are the books they're picturing. These are them with that iconic circle picture in the cover, with the Harlequin Presents. So yeah, so that's kind of a little quick guide to category romance. If you guys have any questions, please post them below. So very quick history on category romance. So it was started basically by Mills and Boon in the UK many, many, many moons ago. This next year in 2024 will be the 75th anniversary of Harlequin. Mills and Boon has been around longer than that. So they were publishing romances under the Harlequin or Mills and Boon romance line. And Harlequin started in 1949 in Winnipeg, Canada, actually, and by two guys. And the wife was pretty much the one who was like, you know, we should really start because if you look at the very, very early Harlequin books, they weren't called Harlequin romance yet. They were like actually some more men's adventure type books. But then they very quickly shifted focus to romance, which clearly has been good for them. So they, the wife actually of one of the guys, she's like, hey, we should publish some romance books and get some women readers in here. Well, they didn't have any books written by, so they started acquiring titles from Mills and Boon. So if you look at some of these old, like I have a couple of old, oh, that one's really ripped. I don't want to hold it up. This one here, Strange Request by Marjorie Bassett. It's a Harlequin romance novel. So this is a very old one. But I got this one at the thrift store. It is number 538. This is a reprint of the original. But just to share with you guys, so it says here, the original hardcover edition was published in 1960 by Mills and Boon in the UK. This edition was published by Harlequin in January of 1980. 1980? No, hold on. August of 1960. So it was published like a few months after the hardcover Mills and Boon edition. It was brought over here to North America and republished under the Harlequin romance banner. So let me go back to this one again here. The Wishing Thorn by Isabella Choice. I just gotta be careful with one because the back of it's pretty badly ripped. So again, the same year. Original hardcover publication, 1977, and the Harlequin publication, 1977. But there are some of them that you'll see. That'll be like, the Mills and Boon edition was published in 1968, and the Harlequin edition was published in 1972. So, yeah, these are very cool. I really like the old ones. I haven't read too many of them, but I do like them. So, Mills and Boon, again, the equivalent to Harlequin in the UK and overseas. In Australia, I know for sure. And I think Harlequin is primarily only known in North America. But, of course, I am Canadian. I live here in North America, so that is what I know. But my very good friend Rachel Stewart, another fantastic author, sent me a copy of her book, which is published by Mills and Boon. So this is the Mills and Boon edition. Now, both of these books, Surprise Reunion with His Cinderella and Awakened by the CEO's Kiss, were both published separately by Harlequin. So I will pop up the cover for Rachel's book right here. So this is the North American edition compared to the UK edition. And of course, as I said, Rachel is an absolute delight. And this is a signed copy as well. I'm not here to show you guys my signed copies. It just so happened these are the ones I pulled off my shelf. So yeah, so that is 10 minutes into this video, a very, very quick guide to category romance. Now let's get into the books, my friends. Let's get into the books. So there are a lot of authors that are very well known within romance that have written for category. Jill Shalvis got her start writing for category. Debbie Maycomer got her start writing for category. The great Nora Roberts got her start writing for category. This is Rebellion by Nora Roberts. This is a Harlequin historical novel. This has been republished. That's the great thing about these very well-known authors like Debbie Maycomer, Jill Shalvis, and the like, that if you're looking for their books that were category, you can find them now. This is, I know, also available on audio. But you can find them. They might have a different title or something like that, but you can definitely hunt them out. And I think a lot of people end up being very, very surprised, being like, oh, that was published as a category romance? Because again, even within the romance community, a lot of people have their noses stuck up in the air that category is less. Category is not as good as other romance. You know, your shapeshifter. What were you talking about in the GarbAugust Voxer? Shapeshifter between a moose and something else. Like, because that's so much better than, you know, category. And again, I'm not putting levels of trash on stuff. I'm just saying that's okay, but this is anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So yeah, so a lot of very well-known authors have written for category. Spice. Category is generally known for spice. So if you're going to be reading some books for GarbAugust, I absolutely recommend picking up some more spicy books because they are absolutely fantastic. So the Presents line that I already showed you, this one would definitely qualify as spice. The Presents lines always, you know, especially more so with the newer books, are very well. I mean, look at that cover, you guys. These books can get very, very spicy. So this is an older one, again, by the great Penny Jordan, Time Fuse. So yeah, so there is that. Now next up we have the Desire line, which sadly is ending this year, which makes me very, very, very sad. I have thoughts on that, and I don't agree with it. But anyway, I'm not on the marketing team at Harlequin. This is a much older Harlequin Desire novel. This is number 37, so this is way back, like in the early 80s, that this one was published. Prince of Surrender by Stephanie James, who is actually also Jane Ann Krantz. So again, writing under a pseudonym, this is Jane Ann Krantz, essentially. So yeah, you could pick this one up. Again, if you could not tell from these delightful covers and that 1970s fireplace, these books get very, very spicy as well. But then we're going to get into a little bit more spice, I think. The Temptation line was published by Harlequin for many, many years. This is a newer one that I just picked up called A Happily Unmarried Man by Kate Hoffman. So yeah, these, again, Temptation, you know, spicier books, really enjoyable. Search for these. A lot of these books now, not necessarily this book that I'm holding up. I'm kind of more showing you guys the lines. Like, look for a Temptation book. Look for a Desire book if you want the spice. That's what I'm trying to say. My favorite. Again, I am upset about Desire, but I am still upset and salty many years later about the Blaze line going. This was my favorite category line from Harlequin. These books push the envelope in terms of spice. I mean, hello, they were called Blaze. Just look at the covers for a second, my friends, and you can see that these are clearly meant to be spicy books. These are absolutely flipping delightful. So yeah, look for the Blaze books. A lot of these are available digitally. There are some available actually on audio, but they're Audible exclusives. And you can definitely find these at your local thrift store, charity shop, what have you. So do go and check these ones out if you want a little bit of spice. Now, speaking of, I'm going to recommend one book, and the only reason I'm going to recommend this book is because everybody is losing their minds right now for the book The Wishing Game by Meg Schaffer? I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I do apologize. So this book, okay? It was Book of the Month pick. Everybody and his brother I know is reading this book. It's like supposed to be like Willy Wonka themed. So this is a pen name for author Tiffany Rice, okay? Tiffany Rice has written for the Blaze line. Her Halloween Treat, which is the first book in the Men at Work series, is the same author. She also writes a series called The Original Sinners. She writes extremely explicit romance and is also now writing a book that most people who would never touch a romance novel are reading and loving. So I just kind of really like that fact. And Tiffany has not hidden the fact that that is her as an author. She has blatantly, like, it's on her Instagram. She's like, yeah, this is me. I've published this book. And I'm very, very proud of her and very excited for her for this new kind of direction that, you know, that she gets to write something different under a different pseudonym, or under a pseudonym, excuse me. But for those of you who are loving this, if you want something just a lot more explicit, check out Tiffany Rice. You are not going to be disappointed at all. Her Halloween Treat is the first book in a 3-book series, the Men at Work series. The first book takes place at Halloween, the second one at Thanksgiving, and the third one at Christmas. So do check that out. Christmas/Hanukkah, I believe. On to the most explicit line that Harlequin ever published. I, again, was extremely fortunate that one of the editors over at Harlequin, when Brie and I were doing the podcast together, offered to send us a box each of these books. So this is the Dare line, and the one that I have here is First Class Sin by Carl Lockwood. So these were the most explicit. Now, I actually, many years ago, just before this line started, I was interviewed for the Globe and Mail. They found me through my YouTube channel, and I appeared very briefly, and I pretty much said, like, they're trying to ride off the coattails of 50 Shades of Grey, but may have been a little bit too late. This line only lasted a couple of years, unfortunately. It was good. Rachel Stewart, who writes here, this Rachel Stewart has written some fabulous, fabulous books for the Dare line. So here in North America, these books were not available in print format, which is why I'm saying I'm very lucky. Because if you look at this book, there is no ISBN, there is no scanning, whatever. These were publisher copies that were sent, you know, for, I guess, marketing purposes, if you will. These were only available digitally, but I have a bunch of them physically on my shelves, which I, again, feel very fortunate for. In the UK, you could buy these as paperbacks or as mass market paperbacks, but you can get them all digitally, so do check that out. Again, next Wednesday, I think I'm going to do an actual video where I'm going to pick like 10 books that are category romances that I think would fit and talk about those books specifically. This is definitely just a more general overview to give you guys a jumping off point if you're still looking for something to read category for the first week of GarbAugust. The next group of books here I have are for my friends who are more into the, that's what I'm looking for, mystical, fantastical. You want like your shifter romance. You don't want the lovey-dovey, you know, cowboy type romance. This isn't your jam. You want something like with witches and vampires and all the things. So there are a number of lines that Harlequin did. And I want to, sorry, I'm just kind of organizing these beside me. So this one is, these ones are going to be very difficult to find. I got super lucky by finding this one on Thrift Books. Secret at Orient Point by Patricia Warner. This is a Harlequin Gothic. I think only 30 of these were ever published, but these are more like Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, but with like more sexy times, perhaps. I've not read this one yet. I think I definitely need to for GarbAugust. Because yeah, it just, like, look at that cover. Like, she's in her gown running through the mansion and there's ghosts. So yeah, that is definitely delightful. Another line that they did that is no longer around, all of these lines unfortunately are no longer around, is the Silhouette Shadows line. So I have 2 copies that I found at thrift stores. The Last Cavalier, again by Heather Graham. This one is a time travel with a Confederate soldier. Heather Graham's original works were a lot of, I almost said World War II. No, Civil War type books. And her first few books were very, very controversial by having the female lead be a former slave owner. Or a slave owner, I should say. So tread lightly with her older work, like non-category. But, you know, depending on whatever. But it is what it is. But she has much changed her tune since then. But she still does like to write about the Civil War. I think it's, what do you call it? It's definitely a subject that's near and dear to her heart. Not that she's a slave owner, but she's just very interested in the time period. So this guy is, yeah, a Confederate soldier. And, yeah, so again, with a grain of salt, my friends, with a grain of salt. Another one that I have here is The Prince of Air and Darkness by Janine Rose. So look at that cover, you guys. So this one, Highland villagers warn that the black brooch was no place for a foreign visitor, but Caitlin paid their fearful mutterings no heed, for something in those broken stones spoke to her soul. So it sounds almost like an Outlander kind of thing where she goes through this. I don't know. But yeah, again, Silhouette Shadows. These you can probably hunt out on thrift books. You might be able to find them in your stores. Now, Silhouette was another publisher of category romance back in the day. They were bought out by Harlequin, and they got rid of the Silhouette because Desire, let me hold that back up again. Where'd that Desire book go? Hello, Desire. Oh, there you are. So as you can see here, guys, it used to be Silhouette Desire, but has now become Harlequin Desire. So, and then it's going away. So yeah, so Silhouette Shadows. We also have here Silhouette Bombshell. So these eventually transferred over to Harlequin as well. These did not last that long, maybe 150 books or less. So I think because these really didn't have a very specific, these are kind of all over the map, but still kind of had a common theme. So this is Once a Thief by Michelle Hoff. Now Michelle Hoff has also written a lot for the next line. Oh, actually I've got both of the books I'm going to show are under her name. So the Silhouette Bombshell line kind of went with a lot of different things. You had female vigilantes, you had military, you had thieves, you had also some more fantastical elements. There was one book I read that I really liked about witches, you know, so it was kind of a little bit all over the map and didn't really have a very specific kind of genre. But the big thing was like strong, powerful women, essentially. So these were good. If you could find them again in your store, you might find some that you will enjoy. And then the Nocturne line for my friends who are into witches and vampires and all of the things. Both again by Michelle Hoff. We have An American Witch in Paris. I'm going to be reading one of these for GarbAugust. I just don't know which one. Taken Hostage in Paris but Bound by Desire. So there's also like vampire books in this line. All kinds. Shifter. Big on shifter books in the Nocturne line. And then we also have This Wicked Magic by the same author. So yeah. So there's those. So that's kind of like, you know, the spicier stuff. You know, the spicier stuff. And, you know, they definitely, you know, got a little bit spicier. Now, again, talking about some authors that wrote for Harlequin, but like wrote for category, but you're like, really? They wrote for category? Janet Daly is another one. So yeah, she's very, very, very well known. I'm just kind of looking through my thing here. Oh yeah, and then the other one is, of course, I've already mentioned Heather Graham, but I wanted to show you guys this one. So this is one of my favorite books by her. It's called A Matter of Circumstance. And it's essentially, if you guys ever watched that movie Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, is that who it was? This sort of, kind of reminded me of it. I don't want to say it was like, yes, because if you read it, you're like, I don't think of Overboard at all. I did. So it's essentially about a woman who gets kidnapped, and they think she's somebody else. And she pretends that she's lost her memory. And then there's a guy who's trying to rescue her, and he's a cop, and he's pretending he's one of the bad guys. So everybody's like not telling the truth about who they are. And they're on this boat in the Florida Keys, and it's just a fun, fun ride. This is very 1980s. There are mentions of Miami Vice in this. There are mentions of John Denver songs in this. So it's delightful. So the reason I'm showing you this is because this is that one. But because Heather Graham is so well known, it's been republished as this 2-in-1, and it's written now as, oh no, it's got the same title, A Matter of Circumstance, and this is a 2-in-1 bind up with a book also by B.J. Daniels. So yeah, if you wanted to just look this book up, you could read this without hunting out this edition. You could find it as a 2-in-1 or published on its own digitally. So just to give you guys that. So just a couple more things here. I just kind of wanted to show you a few books. Again, just look through and see what you can find. I find that anything that was published like late 80s, early 90s, or into the 90s are definitely books that you might find more trashy than the more recent releases. The more recent books from Harlequin do tend to deal with a lot of topics, like, you know, that are being discussed within life now in general, which is great. We're getting more LGBTQ type stuff, more authors of color. You know, those are great, and I absolutely love it. But if you want the more trashier stuff, go back in time a little bit. So we have here Drop Dead Gorgeous by Patricia Rosemore. She's a showgirl and she's getting married to some guy, and then the groom doesn't show up and they have to find him. So yeah, delightful. Duets. So this is actually the very first Harlequin book that I ever read. This is what started my love for this line. So we have two books in here, Heaven Sent by Jacqueline Diamond and Shotgun Nanny by Nancy Warren. So in Heaven Sent, she's a doctor And she's going to be a nanny in Texas for these 2 unruly children. And it was delightful. These books were so good. I have not reread these in over 20 years. And I kind of sort of want to. I think I need to get on that. We have Father, Lover, Bodyguard by Cassie Miles. Again, just the title. The title is trash alone. Title and some of the covers are enough just to qualify it as trash. This is a favorite of mine. The American Temp and the British Inspector by Pat White. Very James Bond-esque for this... The Blackwell group, it's part of a series. Wanted, Girl Friday for Cranky Detective. This was a lot of fun, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I don't think that's available digitally, unfortunately. Jacqueline Diamond's Daddy Warlock. I talked about this one in my Intro to GarbAugust video, where she has a affair with this guy who's like, you know, a wizard, and then she gives birth to Harry Potter, essentially. Not the Harry Potter, but Harry Potter-esque. And then we have this one. I also talked about this one in my introduction to GarbAugust video, Killer Secrets. Pretty straightforward looking romance novel cover, but her parents are serial killers. Like, fantastic. This one by Dawn Stewartson, Gone with the West. This is a time travel romance. Dawn Stewartson, if you can find her books, she tends to write very time travel, kind of really fun romances that don't stick with the conventional stuff, so definitely check her out. She did a whole series, or she did a 2-book series on like Egyptian mummies or something like that. And then we have Surrender to a Stranger by Sylvie Garrett. Again, this is a Silhouette Intimate Moments, but again, these are the kind of ones that you're looking for. This time period, this is 1987. So again, late 80s, early 90s, you're going to find all the trash. You know, investment banker Laura Foster's son had been kidnapped by her vengeful ex-husband. Laura had come to sultry Mexico to find the child, but she couldn't challenge the wealth and power of Julio Vasquez on her own. So yeah, great stuff. And last but not least, this is kind of a little preview of one of my first picks for GarbAugust. For the first week. This is my pick, actually, for the first week. And this is Saving Mariana by Laurie Robinson, who's one of my favorite category authors. This is a romance that takes place during the Salem witch trials. I'm sorry. I adore Laurie Robinson. This was so... Okay, this is a reread for me. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to reading it again. So yeah. Anyway, guys, this video has gone on way too long. I hope you guys got some ideas for that. Like I said, next week I'm going to try and do a very specific video giving you guys like maybe 10 titles to really look out for. You know, if you're looking for something to read. Let me know what other videos you guys... I have some ideas for GarbAugust for every Wednesday, but I would like to put out a video every Wednesday in August. And let me know what you guys would like to see. Do you want me to do like an author deep dive? Or do you want me to do like a series deep dive on like the Blaze line, on the Blaze and Does Dare line? Do let me know, and I am happy to talk about those books. You know, if not necessarily for GarbAugust, but just for your own enjoyment and knowledge in category romance. So anyway, guys, that is all. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions or comments, please put them below. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.